On today's show, we will discuss our birth stories and how we saw God in them. And then later, we will have Betsy Baragar join us to share her testimony. So back in the 90s, I absolutely loved listening to country music, but for some reason I stopped really listening to it. But recently I got back into it, and there's a song I've now heard multiple times on the radio called Backup Plan that says, "Getting back up is the only backup plan you need." And it got me thinking, how many times have I failed? How many times have I got it wrong? How many times have my plans not worked the way I thought they would? Too many to count for sure, but the song is not wrong. Getting back up is the only thing we need to do. You see, Satan absolutely loves when we stay down. When we let the times we get it wrong keep us from moving forward in what God has for us. Life can be hard and things can get off track, but we just need to learn to not stay there and understand there's part of the song that's missing, in my opinion. Yes, get back up, but also know God's got our back. He's fighting for us, and He has never left our side. Knowing that He's in our corner, it allows us to walk out things very differently. Sure, Satan throws his junk at us, and life in general can just be chaotic, but we've got something on our side that allows us to get back up with our heads held high, knowing it ain't over. There's better to come, and in the end, it will be okay. We have a protector, a defender who loves us, who fights for us, and who will carry us when we can't take another step. He's not just a backup plan either. He's the main priority, the one to keep our focus on. And as I daily surrender to Him, I can get back up and dust myself off and move forward. Because why? He always has more. More to give, more to show me, and more to teach. I'm not going to stay down any longer and let Satan have his way. No, I'm going to get back up. Isaiah 59:19 says, "When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him." Yes, that's what our God does for us. We don't need to stay down because of who He is. Let's not forget that. And we are just three ladies, all with big opinions, always backed by a biblical standpoint. Let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, and I think this is kind of a fun segment to tell about our birth stories. This just allows people to kind of get to know a little part of us, and the fun thing about birth stories is they're all so different. I mean, I know for myself, I've had 2 kids, and the stories are completely different. So I'm going to share mine, and then we can get into you guys's. My oldest is 20, and I still remember, though, the day that I got that first contraction. And, you know, when it's your first, you're like, what was that? Mm-hmm. I think that might have been a contraction. And I remember calling my husband and saying, I think I'm having contractions. I'm not sure. And I think they were at a car wash helping out with something. And I'll stay there. You're fine, you know. And as the day went on, they definitely, this is contractions and they're starting to hurt. And I remember just thinking, they told me I can't come into the hospital till they're 4 minutes apart. So I have to wait. And you're first, you don't know. So I'm like, I have to wait. And they got really strong where, I mean, I was up walking in my bedroom, just trying to get through them. And I was like, I don't care at this point if they're 4 minutes apart or not, we're going because I'm done. And I remember getting there and they checked on me and they were like, you could have come in so much sooner than this. You're, I think at that point I was like 5 centimeters dilated. And I'm like, well, you told me 4, so I'm just going by that, Yeah. And so we're in that process and they said it's time to push. And 3 hours of pushing and nothing. And they wanted to do forceps. They wanted to use forceps. And I said, I just don't think that's the way I want to go. I said, I think let's do a C-section. And I remember I had a whole birth plan written out at this point too that I had given them. And I said, we will not be doing a C-section. But in that moment, I was like, yeah, that is what we're doing. And I changed the whole idea of it. And honestly, it's the best thing for me that I've ever done because I'm a baby when it comes to pain and I'm a baby when it comes to doctors. So honestly, me having a C-section and doing it that way, truly, I would not take it back for anything except for the part where you don't get to see them right away. Like, I don't know, because you said you had C-section. I didn't get to see him for like an hour or something, and I really wish that would change. But other than that, it really was the best way for me to do it. And with the second, I was supposed to have a C-section with him, and it was scheduled, but he decided to come early. And so I got to feel contractions again. And I said, this is not fair. I'm not supposed to have the pain this time. And when I went in, I remember there's having me sign papers as quick as can be. They're like, we've got to go now. If you want a C-section still, it's got to be now. And I'm signing things as fast as can be. And I'm saying within 15 minutes, we're in getting the C-section and done because it was so fast that time. So just totally 2 different, stories of how it happened. And one thing of how I brought God into this for me was I had a song for both of them. I did How Great Is Our God for Jackson, and I did Great Are You, Lord for Parker, and I just had the song play and just really ministered to me as I was giving birth because that was important to me. So that was just the way. And now when I hear those songs in worship, it always brings me back to when I had those boys and how special those moments were 10 years apart.
So you actually could have gone naturally with your second.
Oh, yeah, they asked, and I said no.
Okay.
No.
Because that's usually like a time of your first C-section. They usually want you to wait like 2 years.
Yeah, I could have, and I said, no. I don't want to feel the pain. I just want you to numb me. And
I just want my baby.
Yeah, just give me the baby.
Cut me open, give me
And yeah, so that's, we'll have to talk about how I feel about doctors at some point because I don't like them. So
I had 4 kids with no epidurals.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no.
No epidurals. The last one I contemplated it. I would have done it had I had time, but I remember the nurse getting me like when they're checking in and everything, and she goes, Mrs. Miller, are you gonna have an epidural? And John goes, no. And I said, yes, I am. Yes, I am. And, but I didn't have time. But that one in particular, I remember the nurse was there and she's starting these IVs and stuff. I was miserable. And I kept raising my hand. And she goes, what are you doing? She goes, are you okay? I go, I'm just reaching for God. Reaching for God. But I think every time I was like, oh boy, I would say the Lord's Prayer. Like, it was just the first thing that came to my mind. So I just say, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I made it.
The nurses loved it.
Oh, and then every time I did, I raised my hands. I go, I'm reaching for God.
You need to reach down and help me right now.
Well, you're out of your mind. You're like,
you are.
It's like they say that stress is like, I don't know.
It's a pain that you can't.
Oh my goodness, yes, crazy. But that was the last one. The first one was like 20 some hours long. Oh my word.
I was going to say my first was really long too.
Nightmare.
How long was mine was 36 hours actually.
Oh, okay, mine wasn't that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was like
17 hours.
21 hours.
Like all back labor. Now, fortunately, my mom is a labor and delivery nurse, and she is like my hero. And I couldn't get any pain relief from the back labor, so I had like
not even with an epidural, or you didn't do it.
Nothing touched it. And so she would have to like pull my back apart, and then my husband would have to like shove his elbow down almost like on my tailbone, and like just that pressure would alleviate the pain, and that was the only relief I would get.
And did you have that with all of them?
And then, no, I only had that with my first. Okay. And so she was a C-section eventually. I was in labor for a long time, and then I couldn't progress past 6 centimeters. So they were like, okay, we need to, and then her strips like changed, and my mom was like trying to be mom and not nurse because she's not from the area. So she was like, you guys need to do something. This baby's not looking good anymore. And here the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck 3 times. Oh, wow. And I swear it's because she danced the entire time. She still is a dancer. Like she was moving all the time. So I had my first C-section, and then surprise pregnancy. Like my second daughter is only 14 months apart from my first, so they wouldn't let me go natural. They were too close. So then I had my third, so then I just kept having C-sections. So I had 4 C-sections within like 6 years. So my body went through the ringer.
I heard every C-section gets like harder to heal from.
Yeah, I felt like the last, what they had told me 3 was probably the safest number for me, but I had no peace. My husband and I both always wanted 5 children, and I said to them, I don't have peace being done and getting my tubes tied at 3. May I please just try for 1 more? And so they did, but they brought in 2 surgeons for that surgery, and they tied my tubes, and they just like, and that recovery was a lot worse than the other ones, but it wasn't like awful. And my mom would always take off work for like 2 weeks and stay with me, and that was such a blessing because she just tended to me, and then my husband would take a kid each time. He just gained another child. So he grew into that role very well. But I don't remember much because I didn't have any of them after my surgery. Like they take the baby and you go into recovery, and then my husband would get the babies or a family, but I didn't.
Right.
I think it might have changed though. I think they let you.
It did not,
It
because
did not?
my daughter-in-law had a C-section
Just recently.
last year, and she did not get to see him.
Isn't
regularly.
that?
I thought maybe they like brought the baby over. Maybe it's just to your face, but you definitely can't like hold them.
No, I got to see them, and they put
Maybe
them
that's
like
what I'm
right
thinking.
here, close to me. But then they take them for like a while.
I know that is the hardest thing. People will say, "I remember this." I'm like, I remember nothing. I was too drugged out, like in another room.
For a while.
So, for a while.
Yeah.
Guessing they want that to wear off.
Yeah.
And everything, but that's hard because you want to see your baby.
Yeah, I think my least favorite part was getting the epidural. I remember just burying myself in the nurses. Like, you have to like arch your back, and you're huge.
Well, they show you
You're
a
so
video in the class. If you take the class, they show you a video. And when I saw the video, I was like, oh, heck no. You ain't doing that to me. But when you're in that much pain, you're like,
I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yes.
And I actually didn't feel anything when they did it.
Really?
Yeah.
I just remember that big old needle.
Yeah, it's big, but I'm not looking. I'm not going to look at it.
I don't know. I didn't have them.
Right. You did nothing.
Did you take anything?
Anything?
I think they gave me Nubane, is what it was called back then, and it did absolutely nothing.
You're nuts, girl.
Yeah, that is quite
It did
remarkable.
nothing.
How far apart are your children?
4 years between Cody and Kaylee, 2.5 years between Kaylee and Justin. And I had a child in between, which we'll talk about later, but he died when he was 6 months old. So he was between Cody and Kaylee.
Wow.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm the brute on the set today. Misery that I did not have to have.
Yeah, I'm saying get the drugs, people. No, do what's best for you. Every birth story is different, but allow God to be the one that gives you peace and comfort during that time, because it really is a beautiful thing when you allow children into your lives. And when we come back, we will have our guest for the day.
For generations, Dick's Home Care has been providing the best equipment and service for patient care at home. Stay in your home without worry with Bruno mobility products from Dick's Home Care. Bruno has the highest rated stair lift of any brand. They're American-made quality stair lifts and are expertly installed in less than a day. Keep your loved one at home and safe from falls on the stairs with a Bruno stair lift.
Call the leader in home medical equipment, Dick's Home Care.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It, and we have a good friend with me today. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Betsy Baragar, I live in Altoona now. I've traveled all over. Started in Michigan, Washington State, Indiana, Michigan, and back to here.
Good.
So, where do you want to go?
So, let's hear some of the hard parts of your story, some of the things that maybe you wish you wouldn't have had to go through, but you did go through.
Okay. Probably one of the biggest things was growing up in a household where my father was an alcoholic. He was probably pretty easy to deal with. I mean, I was just a kid, but he would come home from work and have a drink, and he'd sit down, and that would be kind of the end of conversation. But it didn't set a great example. So I started spending more and more time with friends, going to church activities. It was with the Catholic Church in Michigan, and it was really fun. People who really cared. Not only was my dad an alcoholic, but my mom kind of was absent. She was there, but she would bury herself in books and anything to distract her from, what was going on in the household. So I would go and just do things with friends and with church friends. So further along, when I moved to Washington State, I went through a really rough period there. I was actually in my early 30s, and I had gotten pregnant. And around the same time, my mom got sick. She had been on and off sick for quite a while with congestive heart failure. Mm-hmm. And she ended up in the hospital, and I ended up in the hospital at the same time. Being pregnant was still kind of taboo in the family, even though I was 31. And they disowned me during that time period.
Wow.
And after being in the hospital, when I got out, my mom was still in the hospital. And the day after I got home from surgery, I had to fly back to Michigan because they said she was not going to leave the hospital. Mm. So once I got home, it was about 3 days later, and she passed. Oh, wow. So it was a very traumatic, difficult time.
Thrown all at once.
All at once.
Right.
Yeah. So those were probably the harder things that I've gone through. I mean, there've been odds and ends of things, like everybody goes through. The car breaks down, or something crazy happens.
In the midst of all of that being thrown at you, what were some of the feelings that you were facing? How were you reacting to the situation?
My mom had been sick for so long that I just wanted her to be better. I wanted her to feel better. And if that wasn't going to happen, then I wanted her to have peace. Right. So the harder thing about the situation with my dad was because of them disowning me, I wasn't sure how I was going to be welcomed. Yeah. And I did find out it was my mother, because she was so sick that she wasn't thinking clearly. Oh. Mm-hmm. And she was the one who sort of disowned me. And my oldest sister, stepped in and was like, "You need to call your daughter. She's in the hospital and going to have surgery." Mm-hmm. And my dad called. I was already in surgery, so I didn't talk to him, but my best friend did. So it was very emotional. I, at that point, thought, well, I'm not going to have kids because, they're going in and taking out this section of my fallopian tube, and it's what's going to happen. So that was part of it. And my family is very large. I mean, I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they all have kids, and now they have kids. So I wanted a family. Yeah. And I knew, I just had that feeling that wasn't going to happen. Mm. So that was hard. Losing my mom was really hard. Mm. My dad was still doing his drinking, and, he would get pretty ugly sometimes because he was alone, and he missed my mom, which I understood totally. We all did. But he got more and more difficult to deal with. Mm. And it was just, toxic. And I just couldn't. I was seeing a therapist, and she was, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, you're adult, you can make that decision.
Right.
So I separated myself from him for a long time.
And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do when
Yes.
it's family.
Yeah.
Yep.
Say
Strong
it's
boundaries.
okay to separate.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard because he's the dad.
Right.
Yeah.
And it did leave my siblings left to deal with him in his day-to-day living and his getting older. And I felt really badly about that because my oldest sister was dealing with most of it because she lived the closest at that point. But I would make myself sick and get migraines and, you know, all that kind of stuff with just the anxiety of having to deal with him.
Right.
So
What would you say was the turnaround for you, the pivot moment, the things that have helped you to break free from some of that?
Well, finding my way here to transformation was huge. I have been, prior to coming here, I was in and out of different churches, and nothing ever felt really like home, like where I was supposed to be. And when I moved to Altoona, it was a very strange situation because I was settled where I was at over in State College, and I had a great job, and I had a great place, and I didn't want to move. And then where I work offered me a position that I couldn't say no to.
Okay.
You know, money and benefits and the whole thing. And it came with moving. So I moved, and I drove past Transformation every day for like 2 months. Well, no more, about 6 weeks. And I kept seeing the sign out here on the road, and I was like, what is Transformation Church? And I came, and I was pretty surprised at first because I haven't been to an Assembly of God type church. They were all much more,
Laid back.
reserved. Reserved.
Reserved, yeah,
Perfect
reserved.
word.
Yeah.
And I think one of the very first times I came, Pastor Jim was on the podium, the stage up front, and Pastor Troy was there, of course, doing music, and they did something with dental, like the thing they put in your mouth to do the bridge.
The game.
Yes.
Oh, I remember
it was,
that.
And I just sat there, and I sat purposely in
Oh
the back
my gosh.
on the edge of a row because I thought, these people are crazy.
Yeah. That was crazy.
You know what she's talking about.
game you're talking
game,
about. Put those massive players and try and pronounce words.
Yes. Yes.
And how was this like what were they sharing?
I don't.
It's amazing. I think it's
It was
great.
just all like, wow.
funny.
What is this?
Yeah.
But you came back.
I was going to say it couldn't have been so bad.
Well, and then I saw all of the people up front doing, singing and hands up and dancing, and I'm like, oh gosh, that's like a mosh pit?
Sort of, yeah.
And I thought, what in the world am I doing? And then I kept coming back, and I kept hearing and listening, and Pastor Jim, for that whole first year, it felt like he was talking directly to me. And it was a lot of his sermons and the things that he did, like with the labels and the ashes and all of that, that really helped me understand that it wasn't my fault the way my parents were. They had trauma. My dad did in his life. And as Pastor Jim says, hurt people hurt people. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So a lot of healing came through that period. And then, being involved in the women's Bible studies and the Wednesday night classes downstairs and all of those things just fed into helping me realize that it wasn't me and I'm okay and I don't have to carry on those behaviors.
Right.
Breaking that cycle.
Generational curses.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
And that's what you've done. And
Yep.
I've seen such a freedom in you. I've seen more peace in you in these weeks. And we've
Yes.
heard a little bit of even you sleep better.
yes, I sleep better. I sleep through the night. And that didn't, my brothers, had two older brothers. And they were terrors. They would just terrorize my sister and I would have screaming nightmares at night. So through all of the healing here, all of that has disappeared, and I go to bed and I go to sleep and I sleep through the night, and it's amazing.
I love hearing that.
Me
Yeah.
too, me too.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing just a
welcome.
small part of your story with us. And I know God has more for your story, and I can't wait to see it. And if you are going through some things from generations past, know that it can be broken through you. And when we come back, we will have our verse of the day.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
Next time, we will talk about some scary moments that we've had in our lives, and then Nicholas Acevedo will join us.
And I was living in Cleveland, Ohio at the time, and I was like, I need a good soft pretzel. Bought one from the grocery store, and I was like, this is disgusting. And so we wind up relocating out here to be closer to family, and there was a Philly pretzel factory for sale out in State College, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And so we bought that location.
All that and more on Let's Talk About It. The verse I would like to share with you this week is found in Jeremiah 17:7-8. It says, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." There is value to putting our trust in God. It's actually key in our walk with him. This verse tells us that as we trust in him, we can then withstand even the hardest of times. It doesn't tell us we don't have hard times, just that we will be able to withstand them. We are also told that as we trust, we will be blessed. If you read the verses prior to this, that those who don't trust are actually cursed. It's not always easy to trust, but God has asked us to do just that. And the great thing is, he is faithful as we do. So until next time, let's talk about it.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.